My husband John and I live on 65th Street, just north of the Union Church. It's the red barn that you've been seeing on Facebook, if you're on Facebook. It's nice to be putting faces and names today with everybody that I've been communicating with. So I want to thank you very much for showing up this morning. And start by just introducing, this is my husband John Franklin. Roxy Rouge, you've seen her on Facebook, right? And her husband, Diane Frances McKinney. You've been seeing her on those things too. And then I think Jenny Good is in the back. Jenny's been doing a lot of work for us on the petitions and communicating, and I can't tell you how much it means for all of you to be reaching out to our senators, county commissioners, representatives, anybody who will listen, because, excuse me, what we're getting back, and the reason we're here today, is to share what we've learned since the meeting in Mapleton, and hopefully you will do the same. It'll be an open forum for you guys to come up here and help us if there are things that you've learned, because all we keep hearing is that bill is dead. And I want to see a show of hands. Anybody in this room think that bill is dead? Well, you're in the right place. So, what this meeting is about is to figure out what have we learned. More importantly, what can we do moving forward? And this is a good start. Roxy did all the research on our petitions, helped us put those together. She got her JD in about a month. And I want to thank Laura Guilfoyle's Grams. She's our notary back there. Y'all been keeping her busy this morning. I said y'all, and I'm from Michigan. Previously. Anyway, she was nice enough to become a notary so she could help us out. And the reason we did it this way was to try to make it easy on you, rather than getting a petition to you that you have to take to your bank. So thank you, Laura. So, having said that, what this is, like I said, all about is what have we learned and what can we do? We all know we don't want it. Well, I shouldn't say we all. I know I don't. We all, most of you know we don't want it. And maybe you do. And if you do, then, speak up. We're not saying that we don't want to hear from you. But, who laughed? I did. You get the microphone. My husband tells me all the time, don't try to be funny because you're not. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Heather. Yeah. Thank you for hosting us. You're welcome. You are amazing. We really appreciate it. And on that note, you know where the bathrooms are, and she's here making food if you want to stay after and join us for a little lunch. But we're going to start with Miss Roxy, who's going to share with you just a few things that we've learned that will impact life here at the lake.
My main thing is mainly that I know that if this lake does go through, it's going to not only it's going to raise property taxes and sales tax for all of Bergen County. It's not just going to be some of us, it's going to be all of us. And the lake here isn't going to be a private lake anymore. You're going to have a fishing license to fish, which to me that's just wrong. Your lake's not going to be private anymore. You're going to be subjected to a lot of public and a lot of tourists. And if it's a water reservoir, you're not going to be able to have gas-powered boat motors because they're going to say that it's going to contaminate the water. There's a possibility that you'll be living by a dry lake, as Katie said, when she was at Mapleton for up to 10 years, because they're going to tear down your dam until they get theirs built. Your fishing rights will fall under KDWSU rules. Game wardens can and will inspect your catch. Your fishing and your game wardens can and they will inspect it. The Sheriff's Department will be patrolling and enforcing the law. under eminent domain, they can and will force you off of your property. And I know that Heather, since she's been here, has done some awesome deals and awesome activities, and I am honestly, I really think that if this money goes through, that this part of the association won't exist because this lake will be here. And I just, to me, I think it's wrong. I'm not for it. And, you know, just, I just think it's wrong. That's all I got. That's all I've got on my paper, y'all.
All right. Okay, so in no particular order, I'm just going to have a list of things that I wanted to bring up. And some of this is my opinion, I'll tell you. Wow.
Sorry.
One of the things that we've talked about and we're talking about at the meeting in Mapleton was the name of the lake, Pike Lake, and the reason that we understand that they're trying to name it Pike Lake is it's going to be part of the famous and awesome federal Pike Trail. It starts at Pike's Peak and comes all the way down here to Kansas, except for it does not exist, not even at Pike's Peak. So, the dream of getting federal dollars to pay for this, it's a fantasy. And it's a fantasy as of yet. They haven't gotten that passed anywhere at any time.
Back closer to your mouth so you hear.
Okay.
It's hard to hear. That's better.
Sorry. But yeah, so the Pike Trail thing, damn, is at this point, it's a fantasy everywhere, including at Pike's Peak. So use your imagination there, but just, I think we can be pretty sure we're not going to be receiving federal dollars to magically pay for the dam. So once again, it comes back to a lot of tax there, unless they eminent domain it, which then they can pay for it, couldn't they? And they can do it at will. We were also given the impression at the first meeting that they could not eminent domain it unless it was about water, and that's basically what the attorney said at that point. And that's just simply not true. We looked at state law, and yeah, anything that's public use sounds like a lake is, doesn't it? I mean, that's the point. We've gotten nothing but disinformation still, and still there's not been one public official that we've attempted to talk to. No one started this. No one threw it at the wall to begin with. No one will admit it, period. It's just all magic. It came out of nowhere, which we know that's just not true. So, I don't know. To me, that just speaks that our government's not on our side of this thing. Get back to that telling us that the bill is dead. Well, it is dead. They're not lying until January 1st, 2025. And eternally, according to them, they're going to keep on throwing it at the wall to see. Eventually, it'll stick, hopefully for them. I talked to some guys who are older and ladies, and some of them are, well, I won't be around to see it, you know, okay. Well, I don't think it's going to take that long, and hopefully, but yeah, everyone around you, your neighbors are going to be there to see it. And the nature of this whole place, it's changing. We won't be here. You know, if they need to pay for this without tax dollars, which no one's going to want, but if they can get it for free by eminent domaining the people that are here in the rectangle between 95th, Highway 3, north of Highway 65 to Yale, and then beyond that in parts up into Lynn County. If they're going to pay for it, they have to eminent domain it. They have to take it from you and pay you a fair value, which the government's famous for. And when that happens, then they can pay for their dam. Then all of a sudden, it's not such magic. So, but that's where they get their dollars, put it that way. And anyway, I've not been able to find anyone to tell me anything different. They look at you like you got three eyes, and they don't have an answer for that. They don't have an answer that, oh yeah, well, we can do it by, give me a break. And so that's all I want to say. Is use common sense. To me, that's common sense. And maybe someone knows something different, I'd love to hear it. So, batter up.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I thought we'd have a crowd. This is amazing, so thank you for being here. I'm here because I have a personal stand. My brother owns land and I'm living there. Like a lot of people that own lake lots here, I lived out of state. I lived in the big city for years. What I've learned that you cannot find what you find right here in this area. You can't hear the crickets and the birds. You can't have the tranquility and peace. That's why I'm here. I'm here because my dad can't be here. I'm here to fight his fight. I'm here for my 5-generation farm. And the way we're going to change this is everybody needs to vote. We need to vote, and I'm going to tell you why you need to vote. You need to vote because the people that are going to be on the Bourbon County Commission, the people in Franklin Township, as this bill is written, they are going to, if this bill actually goes through, if we don't have a choice and this bill passes, they are going to appoint a 5-member board. That board will have a president and a secretary. Anyway, and those people are going to govern what happens. They're going to have powers. They're going to have powers for sales tax within they call it the project district. That area that John's described, from Lynn County to 65, from 3 Highway all the way to 95th Street, they're going to have complete power over it. That power, and I'm going to read this from the bill for all of you that have not read this bill. The governing board shall have the following powers and duty and authority to collect the sales tax increment. Now, increments, last time I checked, that means they can increase it as much as they want. Collect the property tax increment. Issue bonds and pay-as-you-go bonds to pay for the project. Enter into contracts for the project. Purchase, acquire, hold, lease, personal property. Now, here's the kicker. Use the power of eminent domain to acquire real property for the purpose of the project, except that such power should be limited to acquiring property occupied by the lake, the dam, and any water management control facilities directly related to the dam and necessary for safety and the operation of the dam. They're not going to use your dam. They're not going to use the dam either. They're going to build a new one. And if you think that eminent domain and building that dam isn't going to affect the property around this lake, if they're not going to maybe take down your dam, let out the water, whatever they're going to do to build their own dam and make their own lake the way they want it, then you haven't read the bill, because they're going to. And also, at the very bottom, if you're out of the area of the project, the board, they have the power to include a property tax increment financing district borders that differ from the borders of the project but shall remain in Bourbon County. So what that means is, it don't matter if you don't live in this area, they're going to put a vote up for Bourbon County, and they're going to vote for a sales tax increase. And you know how we can control that? We can control that by knowing who our elected officials are. We need to know who the Bourbon County Commissioners are. We already know who's on Franklin Township. If you don't, they're here. I believe both of them are here. I know one of them is. So what we need to know where they stand. We need to know their position on this. We need to know in August and November who we're going to vote for. Because these people, if this bill passes, they're going to control our future. And in my opinion, Tim Schellenberger that wrote this bill, I don't know if any of y'all know this, there's going to be a redistricting. And there's a very, very, very big chance that he could be over this district. And he wrote this bill to begin with. Olson, I think, is stepping down, if I'm correct.
Yes.
He will not be up there, so we don't have to worry about Olson, which his name's on this bill as well. Tobin, that's a lieutenant governor. If you don't think he has an agenda to build this lake, you need to look a little closer at him, because he's a part of it too. So I'm asking on my behalf that everybody that isn't here, that is here, if you are not registered to vote, you need to register to vote today. I have a laptop. I will register you to vote. You have to vote. If you think your vote doesn't count, You think it doesn't matter who you're going to vote for president because there's too many people voting? Maybe. Guess what? You're voting in Bourbon County. We're up against Fort Scott and all these people. We've got to get more people in office that are going to think like we think, that have our agenda, that don't want this lake built. And the only way you can do that is vote. And what I'm going to ask something a lot of people here don't know. Is there anyone in here that is currently holding public office or running for public office in August, November for this election? Katie, Brandon, Nelson, but you're running for sheriff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and is there anybody else in the room who's currently in an office? Commissioner? Okay, I guess they decided not to come. Well, what I'm going to do, if you would do me the honor, Nelson and Katie, I'm going to ask you to come up here for just a minute. I want you to have about 3 minutes to talk, or 4 minutes, or whatever you like, if you both come up here. Okay, now, no, you come up here too. I'm sorry, I'm not going to see that easy. I'm telling you, I'm my father's daughter. Okay, now, what I want to know 3 things from both of you. I want to know your name, what office you're running for, what party you're affiliated with. Then, I want you to tell me if you're for or against the lake, if you're for or against eminent domain, and why you decided to run for the office you're running for. Ladies first.
So my name is Katie Bowers. I live here at Hidden Valley Lake. I'm a conservative Republican, and I'm running for Kansas House District 4. So that would include all of Bourbon and then about 95% of Lynn County. I decided to run specifically because of this bill. My husband and I have 6 kids. We moved out here specifically to be in the rural area, quiet, leave us alone, you know what I'm saying. And I am a daughter and granddaughter of farmers, and I fiercely do not believe in eminent domain. You can't take that. And it's just, I can't imagine having lived here for generations and then having something taken away from you. My biggest issues are that they could potentially try and take the areas surrounding our lake, tear down our dam, and then we'd be on a dry lake. So I moved out here to live on a lake, and I intend to do that. And I would love to talk to you, so if you have any questions, please find me. But can I answer your questions? Yes. Okay, thank you, Katie. Yeah, thanks, Katie.
All right, everyone, my name is Nelson White. I'm from Uniontown, Kansas. I was a Bourbon County Sheriff's Deputy for 4 years. I was a Lynn County Sheriff's Deputy for 1 year, and I'm currently a detective with the Fort Scott Police Department. The reason I'm running for Bourbon County Sheriff is because, as she said, we need to vote. The local officials matter, and I believe there is a time coming where the most important elected official is going to be the sheriff. It's going to matter who the sheriff is, because the federal government and the state, and even as we've found out, local governments will step on people's rights, and the first agent they're going to send to enforce that is the sheriff. And also, when you're looking at elected officials, obviously right now everyone in this room is against the lake. So if you ask them, hey, what do you think about the lake? What do you think about this? You ask these people that are running, they're going to say what you want to hear. So the most important thing is to look back what they've already done. Look back at the positions they've manifestly held, and it's been open for everyone to see, and they haven't been shy about expressing. If you didn't know, I was a Bourbon County Commissioner for 2 years, just stepped down so I could run for sheriff. But I made my views on many positions very open, even when they were unpopular, and I mostly got outvoted. So my views are pretty extreme in some areas, but I don't hide them. I'm very open about them. And one of the things, obviously, that I stand against is eminent domain. And, you know, oh, what do you can't do anything to stop eminent eminent domain. That's what everyone already says. And hopefully we're gonna get it stopped before then, but ultimately, the first people are gonna do to say and to enforce it is the sheriff's deputies, the sheriff and his deputies. Obviously, I would not do that, but not only would I not do that, I would physically stop the next person that they send. I'll deputize anybody who's a landowner, I'll deputize them, make them a deputy. But we can get it stopped. So the most important thing in an elected official is vote for somebody who believes in something. Vote for someone who's not a coward. And I'm not a coward. I'm willing to stand up against any opposition for what I think is right. So I appreciate your vote for sheriff. In August, as a Republican, you have to be a registered Republican to vote for me. And it's in August, I think it's 5th or 6th, I don't remember exactly. Which one is it?
I think it's good.
Okay, we gotta find out. And if you're not a registered Republican, it's not gonna matter, because I'm running against the current sheriff. If I don't win in August, then there's nothing for me to do in November, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nelson and Katie, and it looks like it's gonna be a Tuesday, right, the voting? So it looks like August 6th, okay? I want to thank them both for getting up and talking. I want to thank you all for your time. I'm going to pass this back to Jill. Thanks, Diane.
So having said what's been said, for no vote, what I'm going to do here in a minute is ask anyone who wants to come up and share, because when we started this meeting, we said the reason was to help share what we've learned, which really, as you can tell, is not a whole lot, because every answer we get is either it's dead, I don't know anything, and it's nice and refreshing to have people here who are going to be running for office who will actually represent us and tell us what's going on. I got a message from, we've been to the Bourbon County Commission meetings, been to a couple of them. I encourage you to go, kind of interesting. But I got a message from Mr. Harris, Jim Harris, from asking me to stand up here and let all of you know that the Bourbon County Commission is against eminent domain and for property rights. Okay, so I've done my duty. I said I would do it, but what I'm going to add to that is that commission, unfortunately, is not willing to take any steps to try to stop this. And maybe I'm being a little harsh, but I'm telling you right now, it's not just us. It's solar farms. We got guys here who are fighting against that. And when we start hearing our elected officials look at us in the face and say, well, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. State's gonna trump county. I'm sorry, I don't accept that answer, because there has to be something. So, please, anyone who knows anyone, who can start asking questions. Hey, who's behind this? I spent 33 years in sales, and I learned a lesson very early on. If you want to know why something is happening, follow the dollar. So we're not going to get into the weeds of how, yeah, it's bad, no one wants it, there's lots of emotional reasons, but part of the reason we don't know who's behind this and who's doing it is because they're going to make a lot of money and they don't want us to know who they are. So ask your friends, ask your family, and get back to us maybe if you know today. So what can we do? We're doing it today, petitions. You haven't signed your landowner one or the general one, make sure you do that. How about some signs? Who's been seeing signs out on the roads? Okay, who's made them and put them up? Well, my husband's not paying attention. Yes. My point is, please, grab a piece of scrap wood out of your garage or your barn, throw some paint on it, and put it up. Because we don't need them to all look the same, right? When these people are coming up here to drive around and see what a beautiful lake they're going to create, we want them to see signs everywhere. So please put one on your property. Doesn't need to be fancy. again, grab a scrap piece of wood and throw some paint on it. So with that, I'm gonna start, anyone who wants to, what I'm gonna ask you to do is tell me your name, whether you live in the rectangle, and bring it on. Batter up, because
Okay, my name is Reservoir. I work for the Bourbon County Rural Water District. I've got a couple of things that I wanted to point out in the bill that it's subparagraph G. If you read that, and I'm going to just read it out loud to you. Development, construction of the dam, lake, and related facilities, including but not limited to auxiliary dams, spillways, public docks, public wharves, public beaches, swimming areas, marinas, channels, levees, waterways, drainage, conduits, and this one is important, erosion control, environmental protection, fish and wildlife conservation measures. What that means, let's say that you've looked at it and figured out where the lake is, and you've decided that, hey, I'm going to keep my property because in 10 years it's going to be very valuable. Well, guess what? You're going to fall under erosion control and wildlife conservation. So they're going to seize your property. Even if you're not in the lake area, as long as you're within that construction zone, they will take it. Especially if they can resell it to make money for the lake. So bear that in mind, and anybody that you run into that happens to think that they're going to make money, they're not. If you're far enough away from the lake like I am, hell, if I was 10, maybe it would pay off someday if I planned on selling the property. But it's not going to pay off for years if you're not right on the lake. So the real reason I'm up here, though, is to talk about the cost. Okay, so you guys get all your water from us in Bourbon County. One of the arguments that they've used is that we need the water. Well, we just went through a drought, and when I first started working for the water district, we had a 3-year drought. We've never gone below the first intake at the lake. There's 4 intakes all the way down to 16 foot below the first one. So number one, that's just a lie. Fort Scott may or may not have had a problem with water, but they can't get water from this lake. Because if they did, they're going to have to pipe it all the way to Fort Scott. And I'm going to give you an example of what's going to happen, okay? So all of the land in front of Hidden Valley is going to be mostly underwater. So all our water lines are going to move. We're going to end up moving 20 miles or have to dig 20 miles of new water lines. And this is significantly smaller lines than what Fort's got. So I'm going to give you dollars. On the east side of the lake, the worst case scenario, it's going to cost $2,851,200. Best case, $1,009,000. That's for 9 miles of water line, new water line, to replace all that that's going to be under the lake. We're going to end up having to run a whole new water line on the west side. It's 11 miles. It's going to cost $3,400,000, and that's today's prices, not tomorrow's prices. It'll go up. $3,484,800. 6-inch pipe costs are going to be about $1 million. That's the pipe and having, for instance, Josh or somebody, Josh Mitchell, put it in the ground. 4-inch pipe for the other side would be $288,000. The rock bore to get across on 65 or 3 highway where it goes across the Osage, that bore is going to cost $1 million. Just that bore. The rock bore, if we end up by your house where the lake or where the river is, we're going to end up having to bore under that as well. That's going to be about $396,000. Mobilization fee for the bore deal, if they have to come out more than once, it's $5,000 each time. If we have to rock saw this whole thing for the big pipe, which is just a 6-inch pipe, it's $60 a foot. And for the small pipe, it's between 10 and 20. The bores are going to cost between $300 and $400 a foot. And the way I look at that is everybody that's member of the water district, you've already paid for being a member. Through your patronage, you've already paid for all the infrastructure that we've got. These folks are wanting to destroy that, to enrich themselves, and then make you turn around and pay for it again, because how is it going to get paid for? Either through your taxes if they pay us back, or you're going to pay for more water. One thing that was included in this bill, potentially they could build a water plant. Well, Bourbon County is the cheapest water in the area. I guarantee you they won't be cheap. So your water prices will probably at least double, if not more. That's all I've got. Anybody got any questions of me?
I assume your figures don't include what it would cost to pipe from the new dam to Fort Scott.
No, it does not. No, that Fort Scott deal, that's going to be millions and millions.
Yeah.
Because we're talking at least a 12-inch line, probably bigger, because it's going to be raw water, and there's going to be sediment in there, and they're going to have a big enough line that they can handle that sediment plus flush it. So, yeah, definitely. Ours is staggeringly expensive. That's going to be mind-boggling. And it's, when you're talking about the water, there's no way they're going to do that. Plus, a lot of the statutes in Kansas make it pretty prohibitive to use water that's recreational use. It depends on how big the area is. But if it's small enough, if it's got motor boats on it, you can't use it unless they're under a certain size. Well, they're not wanting to have 5 horsepower motors out on this new lake if they build it. You know, so that can't be used for drinking water then. That's all I got. Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Angel Cushing, and first of all, I want to thank you for stepping up and putting this all together. What I would ask for you to do is to put it in writing, either submit it to a paper or have it ready to submit for testimony in the future in writing.
Okay.
This is important, getting up here and speaking, but visually being able to see that in front of the sheriff, in front of the commissions, in front of state legislatures is very important.
Okay, I'll do it. It's not a problem. I mean, I hand wrote it here, but I've got it on the computer, so.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Angel's in the house. Well, if you'd like to right now, if no one's lined up yet, I'm sure that many of you, if you were at the Mapleton meeting, then we were introduced to Angel, and she has been, I can't tell you how much help with how to do petitions, and now I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, if that's okay, because you are very involved, and we really appreciate your assistance.
You're welcome. I think you guys are doing great. I love you all. Keep up the fight even after you win this one, okay?
Okay.
My name's Angel Cushing. I got into this subject when Lyon County tried to ban barbed wire fences, cattle fencing, which is in the Flint Hills, it's the entire county. My county commissioners didn't know it. I am familiar with Bourbon County commissioners. I've been down here and have offered testimony from them. There's only one of them that I like, and he left. The other two need to go. You have till June 1st to consider signing up and running against one of those county commissioners. They need to go. They are working against you. I know I've been dropping freedom of information requests on this issue. What I have learned so far is that Olson is your guy behind this. Olson is not very popular in the Kansas legislature because he has a habit of voting for the other side, or voting with the other side. So he went to somebody that the legislative leadership likes, which is Mr. Schallenberg. And he's new enough that he doesn't quite know all the ins and outs of everything, and Mr. Olson took him for a ride, in my opinion. And so your guy behind this is Olson. His background is in real estate and development. Who wrote that bill is the question. I do not think that Olson wrote the bill. I know that it's well-written. Oftentimes, I myself have done, I have stolen legislation from other states, changed a few words around, made it apply for Kansas, and I have an NHA trail bill that's being worked on now where I did exactly that. I cannot find where this bill has been stolen from, what state or what area it is. So somebody with money, with legal background has sat down and written out this legislation. So it is not an empty thread or a one-time thing. There's already a great deal of financial investment that's already involved. Pike's Lake was talked about earlier by somebody. So Pike's Trail, so that feasibility study failed. There is a special interest group behind that tried really, really hard to get Pike's Trail in. That's a National Park Service trail. The minute Congress designates it, it becomes a National Park Service unit. And it failed. One of the reasons why it failed is because there's not a lot of public recreation up along that trail. So far, my Freedom of Information request to the National Park Service on Pike Lake has produced nothing. So that means that they may not be related. However, I guarantee you, if this lake goes in, the special interest group behind Pike's Trail will now have a reason for a new feasibility study to try that attempt again. So you have a domino effect here of why you want to fight this back. I commend you. God bless you. We didn't get this big of a turnout when we discovered they were trying to ban barbed wire fences. Kind of making me want to move to Bourbon County. Your sheriff candidate, this guy, I want to give you some phone numbers before I leave here that can help you out. I think you're going to need some help. Not that you need help. I think that there's some people that would be very love to talk to you. So, do you have any questions of me? I think that,
Yeah, sure. I have a quick question, and I don't know where I read it, but somewhere I read if they build this lake, there's also going to be a national park somewhere. Does anybody know where they want to put that?
so that trail that's coming through, that is a national park. That is a national park.
I thought when I read it somewhere around the lake was going to be.
Sure, so you're going to have, well, they're not going to release that if they're planning it, but it does say public recreation. So that means there's probably going to be some kind of partnership with either Parks and Wildlife or something else in there. So I want to bring something, actually reminded me of something that somebody brought to my attention, was that you guys got some endangered species along Osage River. So make sure as they go along or as you're having these conversations, you're asking for environmental impact studies. Another one was turkey. You have a lot of turkey in this area. Turkey numbers are down considerably. So make sure that you're bringing that up as you're having these conversations. The technical term is environmental impact study or NEPA regulations. Anytime there is something going on, whether it's state or federal, because they're taking this legislation to the state level, now you're getting into the realm of environmental impact studies. So make sure that you ask for that, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So I do want to tell you that I do think that there is commission involvement in here, specifically because of the Fort Scott article in which Mr. Olson is quoted as having been in conversation with then Commissioner O'Hara at that time for quite a few years. So I know that your commission is aware of what's going on. And so and here's something that Representative Grassley said to us at one time. He said, if they are not advocating for you, they are advocating against you. So don't let them ride the middle or claim to ride the middle. So any other questions?
So what you're saying basically is they want to build this lake, take our land with whatever minimum bare bones they're going to give us as purchase price for the land, and then after it's built, and after they've already cheated everybody here, for lack of a better word, out of their true value, they're going to try to put this federal trail. And there's no federal dollars for our lake.
Correct.
It's gonna happen after it's built, so they're gonna come in and use the residents right here in this area for their agenda.
Correct. So once you have anything like this coming in, you have vultures.
Yep.
And you're gonna see that vulture in every special interest group that has the opportunity to make money off of that. So yes, if this lake goes in, I know these special interest groups well enough to know that the folks at Pike Peak are gonna get really excited.
Yeah.
And so, and then you're gonna have a lot of other type of organizations that are also going to come in partnership on that. So, and you know, this is not new, right? Hidden Valley is a man-made lake, right? So you're thinking, what's the big deal? We've done this before. We have to remember that since the 1980s, so special interest groups that are making a lot of money on these type of issues have blown up. I mean, the first ones went in the 1980s, and I think to give you an example of conservation easement and trusts, the first one went in 1984, and by 1995, there were less than 50. By the year 2000, there was over 100. Now, there are over 4,000 trusts just in conservation easements. Now you apply that to wildlife special interest groups, park special interest groups, it has just exploded. So all those things that were done in the past, in the 1930s, 1950s, is nothing compared to what's going on now. Now it's all about money, all about money.
Angel, I have one question, but your comment about not allowing these folks to sit on the fence, you know, where they're not taking a stand one way or the other than voting them out. Do you have any other suggestions on, attending meetings, those kinds of things?
It's an excellent question. So I have seen, so if you're going to give you Lyon County as an example, my county, in their defense of the county commissioners, I do believe they were victims. They were lied to. They had absolutely no idea that these regulations were going in. And when we started pointing it out to them, they all thought we were liars, because by that time, 4 or 5 years had gone by where they were sold on this idea, reminded of this idea, worked on this idea. So those of us that actually read the regulations must be liars, right? So we hit them so hard that pride set in. And now we had to be wrong because they were prideful and they had to be proven right. So do not be disrespectful to your county commissioners. The last thing you want to do is have pride set in. They don't care. At this point, you're just against them, and so they're going to do whatever they need to because you're too stupid to make a decision. You don't want that to happen. So make sure you're respectful when you're talking to them. Try to offer a solution. So they'll listen to you more if you have some kind of a solution to go along with that. But if they are not championing on your behalf, then they are sold on this idea, and you need to know that. So if they're not saying, here's what we're going to do to try to help you prevent this, they are sold on this idea. They've already bought into it. So show up. Be polite, be nice. We were able to stop it in Lyon County just doing what you all are doing right now. By not giving up, by being persistent, that is a strategy. They're going to wait you out. As these meetings go by, fewer and fewer of you are going to show up. And they're going to try to wait you out until nobody shows up at the end. And then once again, just like they did with this legislation, they're going to try to slip it in while nobody's paying attention. So know that that is a strategy of those developers. They have the time and the money to wait you out. So be persistent, be polite, and show up all the time. It helped. It stopped them in Lyon County. They stopped with the plans. We can have our cattle fencing. I mean, it made a big difference. Making it a campaign issue, sorry, elected everybody that's running, making it a campaign issue is good, because every time they get out and campaign, it's going to come up, and as long as that conversation is going and continuing, then you're being persistent, and that's pressure.
Thank you. Jenny, I was just gonna ask Jenny if you wanted to come out.
First of all, I just wanted to thank Angel for her guidance, her expertise, and her passion in helping us. I've talked to Angel for hours about what we need to be doing here in Bourbon County, so my heart goes out to you.
Thank you,
I'm
Angel.
so incredibly grateful. I went to the county commissioner meeting 2 weeks ago, 12 days ago, and Jim had mentioned that he wanted to pursue something in the southwest part of the county. And
Yes.
for whatever reason, this proposed lake was sort of more ideal for him because he went to lunch with someone and took a drive and we hit a lake, right? So what do we need to sort of, talk to them about the southwest corner of this lake that they're proposing, or what do we do now that we have this petition? What's our next step?
Excellent question. So you need your 20% for a protest petition, right? Make it public. Set up a website, you got a Facebook page. Block out the names and locations of there if you need to, or put general, you want to protect people's privacy. But make them public because they cannot be denied if they're public. They can be administered in a court of law if they're public, if it comes to that point. So that's one thing to do, is make it public. Do a general petition, because you guys, I got to talk to the GOP chair. I've gotten to talk to several other legislatures, and I've been telling them what's going on here in Bourbon County. Nationally, I got to say Bourbon County for land grabs right now is a hot spot. So you're getting momentum going. I encourage you to do a general petition that allows other people to support you outside of your immediate area. That also helps, because remember, when this legislation goes through, there's going to be an awful big body of people you're going to have to convince that this is a bad idea. So getting that general population outside of Bourbon County will help with those other legislatures throughout the state. The other thing that you can do is the Cali, oh, God bless you.
Yeah, we got it.
You got it started, okay, good.
These two.
So if you can get it in a form where it can be done electronically, that would help too. One of the things that I mentioned is there are lakes. Did you know there are 2 lakes in 2 other states named Pike Lake? You could probably get around some of those folks around there to sign this petition, because how dare you take their Pike name? So there's potential there. So the other thing is that one of the most beautiful things that I saw in Kansas law was called the Cali County law. And Cali County had a very similar situation as what you're facing now. And the commissioners were talking to eminent domain property, and they were going to do it. So at that time, they got a law added to the eminent domain law in Kansas legislature that says any land that is used for recreational purposes to be taken in Cali County must sit undeveloped for 30 years. So what that means is, for any developer, you're going to have a long time investment that you're going to be sitting on before you can actually play out that money. You're not pulling any interest. You're not collecting anything. You're sitting there 30 years. It makes them kind of think about whether or not that's a good investment. For the county commissioners, that's 30 years of no tax money from that area. They balance the budget. They know how much they need. And it tends to make them not want to do it. It doesn't stop it for hospitals, it doesn't stop eminent domain for roads. It just says if it has a purpose or a dual purpose of recreational use, it cannot be used for 30 years, developed for 30 years. I love that law. I think it should be across the whole entire state. But you can start by pushing to have that law also include Bourbon County, by simply taking that law, writing it out for an amendment, and all you have to do, no crossing out anything, just put and Bourbon County. It's really that simple, not difficult at all. So that could be your first project in office. So And so, if you do that, that petition that you're working on generally will also help with the momentum. Remember, at the state level where this fight started, you're gonna have an awful lot of other legislatures that you have to convince that this law is a good or a bad idea. So, did I answer your question?
You did, thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you guys for tuning out today.
Your appropriate name, you have been our saving angel.
My name is Pete Owen. I grew up about 2.5, 3 miles north of here. I'm totally against this bike ride. The land that we farmed whenever I was a kid is going to get flipped, the bottom land up here. I'm going to give you a couple, we're fighting solar farms in southern Monroe County. I'm going to give you a couple suggestions. Just like Angel said, show up at those county commissioner meetings. It's 5:30 on Monday evening, go in there, no Pike Lake. Sit there, YouTube's looking at you, people in Bourbon County are seeing it. There's more people watching Bourbon County's YouTube deal than they can ever imagine. Every time those commissioners see there's a bunch of people here, they're nervous. They're nervous. That's the whole plan. Number two, all the commissioners are getting elected this year. Brandon Wisenhunt has been newly appointed. I think Brandon's probably going to be a good guy. I think Brandon is actually going to fight for you guys. He's going to fight for us. He's going to fight for what's right. I'm not endorsing him. I'm not doing anything. I'm just telling you I think he's going to be good. The other two guys, we need to come out. We need to vote. We all need to come together and vote. Just what I've seen, and I don't know, I hope I'm not getting myself in any kind of trouble here. They continually tell us what we want to hear, and then nothing gets done. There's my opinion on the bill. Show up. Show up, guys. Show up, vote. Show up, vote. Make your opinion, make your voices heard. There you go. That's all I know to tell you.
Thank you, Pete.
You just never know what's going to happen when you go to those meetings. You make new friends. That's how we met Pete. And they are fighting a tough fight with these solar farms as well. So they're here to support us today and asking for us to support them too. Anyone else? Jenny, do you want to?
Thank you all for being here and just showing your support and speaking out, because I think awareness is one of our superpowers in this situation. And so I appreciate you being here, taking your time to be here and to be aware. So thank you again.
And Jenny actually took that Cowley County legislation to the commission, and they said, oh, nice, but we're not doing that because it won't hold water. That was her answer. I'm not making it up. And I have a lot of respect for people who are willing to take local office. I'm not standing here telling you I'm running. And maybe someday, probably not. My husband won't let me even if I wanted to. But it's a hard job. Just remember, it's a hard job. I think Angel made good points. And I'm already regretting what I said earlier about them. Anyway, does anyone else have anything they want to add? Miss Katie? Oh, and let me add that Brandon Wisenhunt, only reason he's not here is he's out of town in Arizona for some work training. And he told me in person, but he also posted on Facebook that he is against this lake. It's not an excuse to be out of state.
So I'm going to put my HOA cap on. I am a member of the HOA for Sugar Valley, Hidden Valley Lakes. I did want to let you guys know we had put out a statement not supporting this purely for the facts that most of everybody has listed. Taxation, no definite plan for finalization, all of that. But I guess I want to leave you with the final note, and it's that my husband and I live by this: you can't complain if you don't help. So that means voting. So even if you don't vote for me or whatever, I hope you do, but go get registered to vote, because we really need everybody to let your voice be heard. It does matter here. I know you don't think it does, but it really does. There is not, I looked at last year's numbers. I went to go vote, and if you live here, you'll vote in Mapleton at the community center. It's just, our numbers are so low. So if you want your voice heard, then go vote. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
So to wrap this up, is there anyone else, anyone else who wants to come up and? We're good, okay. So we talked about what we know. We had people share with us what they've learned. We are here to talk about what we need to do moving forward. And this is obviously the very most excellent first step that you're all here. I'm so happy. Really appreciate it. And she's right. I can't complain unless I'm willing to help. So I'm asking you, make some signs. Make one sign. You don't have to make a bunch of signs. Make one sign and put it up on your property. Number two, if you have not, there are 2 petitions here today, thanks to our coaching from Angel. There's a general petition if you are not a landowner within the project rectangle. There are landowner petitions, protest petitions that require your legal description. If you're a landowner, please, please, please do it here. That's why we brought Laura to be our notary, because all you gotta do is do it here. If you know anybody who's not here today, we're gonna be here till 2 o'clock. For anyone who wants to come in and do a land, so pass it on to your neighbors, please, when you go home. Stay and have awesome food from Heather, and if you would like, please, if you want to go to a Bourbon County Commission meeting, I can't spend my whole life every Monday night going to that meeting. I mean, I could, but I really don't want to, so we need your help. And if you want to do that, Diane has a place to get a t-shirt made. All you need is $20 to Diane in your size today, and she'll have one made for you. Okay.
And just so you know, we're not taking any profits. That's the cost of making the shirt, period.
Yeah.
That's it.
My name is Mike White. We rent the pasture along 65 Highway west of Zini. But that's one thing. One thing I want to tell you is I live in Lynn County, and I was on the planning and zoning board up there, and I got myself appointed up there to fight the alternative energy projects that want to come into the county. And I also got terminated from that position because of the stance that I took against those corporations that were coming in there. I'm not nearly as familiar with the companies from the wind side of things because they gave up early on, but the solar people, I'm familiar with some of the players there, and they don't like me very well at all. But one of the things that I'll tell you is that you're ad hoc, and you're going to have to really work hard to establish who your leadership is in your ad hoc group, because you're going to find out that there's times when you're going to need some legal representation, and you're going to have to dig into your pockets and ante up some money to pay for lawyers. And some people will have more funds than others to be able to do that, and you're going to have to figure out who that is, because these lawyers aren't cheap to do this. One thing about Bourbon County, and probably doesn't necessarily pertain to this potential Pike project as it is, but Bourbon County is not zoned, and it's really an issue when it comes to these alternative energy projects. And it's something that you guys probably need to be talking about and working towards zoning this county, because zoning is not nearly as bad as what you might think. And it will help you in the long run. But one thing that Angel has said, and everybody that stood up here has said this, the attendance to those commissioner meetings is vital because they're absolutely locked right. They do not like the pressure that comes from an opposition. And I guess really that's all I wanted to say is that I just want you to know that it's going to be a long road to hoe because this thing has probably been in the works for a good 10 years, I'd say, at a minimum.
Thank you.
So the best, thank you, Katie. And I want to commend Katie and Nelson for being willing to stand up here and say that they're going to fight against this. So we've got your back too.
Absolutely.
The last thing about the petitions, if you don't have all the owners on your land here today, or if you know somebody who's not here today, there is a petition that you can take with you and then take somewhere and have it notarized.
Okay, because we have 2 owners that could not make it and they want to sign it.
Okay, so before you leave, make sure you talk to me because I'll get, we're just gonna, you can either mail it to me or put them in my mailbox at the Red Barn.
Okay.
Do my partners in crime have anything else they want to add?
No, thank you all for coming. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks again to Heather for letting us use this place.
Thank you for your support.